Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, Peak Performance Coach Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Bamboo Lab podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Bosley, and today we have a very amazing and inspiring guest with an amazing story. And I'm so excited to introduce her, but I'm going to wait a minute here. I want to share right now, today is January 30th, 2023. As of about 17 minutes ago, the podcast, as you all know, has exploded. We've been very blessed, and it's all because of guests like we have on today. And to all of you amazing Bamboo Pack, I want to thank you for subscribing and rating us and sharing us with 3 loved ones each week. It's really made this podcast grow to the next level. We actually, as of yesterday, we had our largest month ever, and that superseded September, which is an anomaly because we did 6 podcasts in September and only 4 were streamed in January, and we already surpassed September by quite a bit. So thank you to every one of you. And because of all of your support and because of our amazing guests, we are now being subscribed to and followed avidly and growing on 6 continents, 43 countries, all 50 U.S. states, and 1,168 cities around this globe. So thank all of you very, very much. All right, today I want to read a heart letter that came in over the weekend. And this gentleman, David, you know who you are. You'll hear your heart letter being read. Said, I know this is not a heart letter, but your stuff is amazing. I love hearing all of the people you get on the show and really appreciate your podcast and how inspiring it is. Keep up the good work, Brian. I listen to similar podcasts over and over just to gain all of the knowledge I can, hoping someday it will turn into wisdom. Well, David, what you're doing is you're thanking my guests because they are the ones who are the bread and butter of this podcast. But we all appreciate you reaching out, David, and we're going to continue to grow and do a better job each week and provide you with that wisdom you're seeking. All right, today is a special episode for a couple of reasons. Number one, because of this amazing guest I'll introduce in a minute. But the other one is for a not so positive incident. You know, we all have a grand plan for life. We all have these visions of things we're going to accomplish, not just in 20 years, but sometimes the next hour. And we all know that that doesn't always happen. Sometimes things go wrong, and sometimes things just happen that we don't expect. On January 27th, Friday of last week, in the afternoon, my small community of Escanaba, Michigan, suffered a tragedy. A young 47-year-old couple were driving to their son's basketball game on a highway where a large semi-truck lost control and collided with them. Both of our Escanaba brother and sister were lost, leaving behind 3 amazing teenage children. This one goes out to Jerry and Tara Weaver, their 3 children, all of their loved ones and friends and family, and to my small Escanaba, Michigan community. I want to read a piece of art that I found years ago, a piece of literary art that I think sums up what this tragedy is all about. It's called Gone from Sight by Henry Van Dyke. I am standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and I watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone says at my side, there, now she is gone. Gone where? Gone from sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at that moment when someone says, there she is gone, there are other eyes watching her coming and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, here she comes. And that, my friends, is dying. So to all of you, family and friends, and especially to you three amazing, strong teenagers, I know you're going through a very difficult time right now. And nothing I can really say can take away the pain. But please know that you have a strong community in not just Escanaba, Michigan, and not just the entire Upper Peninsula of Michigan, but all of us here at the Bamboo Lab and the Bamboo Pack are with you, and we're holding you, and realize mom and dad are gone. They're just at another port, and they're looking down at you, and they're smiling with pride, and they will walk with you in every single step of your journey. Make them proud. All right. Today we have an amazing guest, and I'm so excited to reach out there to introduce her. I reached out to Lori, I don't know, maybe a month ago on Instagram. I was seeing her stuff on Instagram. I'm not even sure how we got connected. We have no connections that I know about, and just sometimes you see somebody on there that you're following and they're following you, and you think, wow, that's pretty good stuff. Wow, this is really good. So today, before I introduce her officially, I want to read the bio of Lori Archer. Lori has had many careers and was drawn to personal development at a very young age. And over the past 2.5 years, she has certified in life coaching, self-love coaching, NLP, which is short for neuro-linguistic programming, or some people call it neuro-linguistic processing. And she will soon be certified in human design. She has a passion for mentoring like-minded women and coaches desiring to energetically align with their wildest dreams. Most of her journey was done alone, and she found it extremely difficult at times. She believes she has gotten to where she is because of the coaches she has worked with and the programs she has taken. She knows that being surrounded by like-minded people who hold us in the highest version of ourselves and support us in our dreams will collapse that time around our ability to evolve and manifest everything we desire. I'm going to repeat that one. She knows that being surrounded by like-minded people, as we talked about the Bamboo Pack before, that those food-style nourishing people in your world, those people who hold us in the highest version of ourselves and support us in our dreams will collapse that time around our ability to evolve and manifest everything we desire. So, from Saskatchewan, Canada, Lori Archer, welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Thank you so much, Brian. Great introduction. I appreciate you having me on your show.
It's a complete pleasure. And I'm so glad you said yes, because sometimes when I reach out to people that I have no connection with, other some of social media connection, there's probably this, who is this guy? What does he want? And I thought that you might think that. And then you reached out, you responded. I thought, okay, she saw past the cynicism that sometimes people have and responded and said, yes, I'd like more information. So I appreciate you doing that, Lori.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, we talked a little last week. I got to know you a little bit better. Then, of course, before recording today, we got to spend a few minutes on the phone. But can you tell myself and the Bamboo Pack audience a little bit about yourself? Where you're from, maybe your childhood, any inspirations you had growing up, just whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, so I'm from Canada, Saskatchewan, and I've grown up here my whole life. I had a pretty normal childhood, grew up in a wonderful home, had a cabin at the lake, had, many magical summers up there. But I think one of the things that got me to where I am today is just growing up, and I was always really shy growing up. I was the one that never really wanted to be seen in class, never spoke out. I never raised my hand, and I just kind of wanted to blend in, and I was kind of just, did my own thing, which I had friends, but I was just very shy and introverted. And I think, and I would get a lot of anxiety when we had to, read something in front of the class or do a presentation or anything like that. And I think I was just really, I don't think I really knew how to use my voice at the time. And later realizing now I'm also very highly sensitive and empathic. So I can feel people's energies a lot. So I think just having all that energy and focus on me was too much. And it was very overwhelming for me and not knowing how to process it and deal with that. So yeah, my elementary school was pretty, normal. We had the only thing was, obviously it's a small class, right? So there was anywhere from I'd say 5 to 7 girls in our class, and the rest of the time it was always boys. So throughout our whole kind of elementary school, which was kind of an odd ratio, but Nonetheless, we were always kind of like in a, pretty little tight group of girls there. And then when I went into high school, obviously that was a very much larger crowd. And I mean, the friends from elementary school all kind of dispersed to different high schools too. So I only ended up knowing maybe a couple people where I went. And then again, I think just I found it very overwhelming to go into that environment with being so shy, introverted, and then not really knowing anyone and super kind of highly sensitive, and just not really knowing where I fit in. And of course, coming into teenage years, I mean, I think everyone's trying to figure that out. No one really knows. And it's definitely a learning curve, and then hormones get involved and everything like that.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I found it, high school, it was very just, I found myself having a lot of anxiety, which at the time I didn't realize what it was. And then also kind of getting into the realm of kind of hanging out with some of the wrong people, ended up getting some like depression and just ongoing throughout my high school years. Mm-hmm. And I just always felt really lonely and lost. And like my parents didn't understand me. I had friends, but I just never really felt like I fit in anywhere. And I had such an internal sense of like, what are we doing here? Like, is this just what life is? And I always felt like there's something more, but I didn't know what it was, and no one else really thought like me. So I, again, was very isolated in a sense. And as a result, I started cutting myself actually. And that's kind of how I relieved some of that pain at the time. And I didn't realize it. When I was back in high school, this was like 25 years ago. So, that wasn't really a known thing at the time. Right. But it was just something that kind of came naturally to me. I don't even know how I just ended up doing it one day. And yeah, so I have little cuts on my arm, right? So just kind of relieving that pain and a weird outlet. And nobody knew I did it. I hid it. But it was just, I didn't know how to deal with the feelings I had. And back then, again, there wasn't a lot of, information on mental health or emotional intelligence or, personal development wasn't really a thing back then. Social media wasn't a thing. So again, just feeling very alone and like no one else was, going through the things I was going through. And that kind of spilled over into, I think, adulthood, and just, again, feeling lost in my 20s and not really knowing what to do or who I was. And I know a lot of people can relate to that in different ways. And I never really had a clear path of what I wanted or who I was. So I ended up getting married actually at quite a young age. I was 25 when I got married, and then I was, I think, 22 when I started dating my ex. And so, again, I ended up in this relationship, and I just kind of got sucked into it, and it wasn't a healthy relationship. And it was just an ongoing, I think, toxic thing over many years. And I wasn't able to really follow the path I wanted to. And I knew he wasn't right for me, but I had such a lack of like who I was and self-confidence and self-worth, and just, which also then got worse with being with someone that was fairly like emotional abusive. And so I guess throughout my 20s, I just was in quite a state of just kind of survival mode. And part of the reason it was hard to leave is at the time we kind of owned a business together, and it was just, I really felt stuck in that environment. And then finally, it just got to be too much. And I was finally able to, through actually, again, kind of tapping into personal development, which I'd always been into, but getting into that through actually something called Beachbody, which is kind of like, I don't know if you know what that is, workout kind of program and community. Yeah. So I became a Beachbody coach actually. And through that, I was able to really gain my own, I guess, confidence. And they're huge into personal development and community and connection. So, I ended up just leaving my husband. I was around probably early 30s, I guess. And then since then, I think has really been my big transformation. So that was over 7 years ago now. And just really diving into myself, lots of, law of attraction, reprogramming my mind, my beliefs, really trying to dig into my own self-worth and the feelings that I've always had of not being worthy and not having that confidence. And just even having a voice and understanding my own desires and my boundaries. And just, it's taken, a lot of years to really work through a lot of things, I think, and kind of come to where I am now and feeling really just confident in who I am and having a lot more clear of a vision and knowing where I'm going. So, I think...
Do you realize you just did a whole podcast right there? I mean, I had no idea what you were going to say. I mean, you packed a lot in those teens.
That was a lot.
No, I'm just talking about the growth from being a teenager till your mid 30s or so. Well, when you really started after the divorce and things like that. So I'm going to stop you just for a minute because I want the Bamboo Pack to hear this. Because many of you are riding, driving, walking, hiking, treadmill, whatever. And so it's hard to pick up on some of these pearls of wisdom that Lori just threw out there. So grew up in a normal family, grew up on a lake, shy, empathic, some depression wrapped in there, felt lonely and lost, never felt like she fit in. Nobody really thought like she did at a young age. She began cutting herself as a teenager. Before this was even, I hadn't heard of cutting until maybe 15 years ago. Never really had a clear path. Married at a young age in a toxic relationship, felt stuck. She was in her survival mode when she was in her 20s. And then at one point at 32 or so, she decided enough. And she began to transform her life. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because I say this almost every episode, especially with guests like Lori who have an amazing story to share, is that we've all been there, or we're all going to be there, or many of us. And that's why you come to the Bamboo Pack, because you're looking for direction. You're looking for guidance from amazing people like Lori. And you want to hear share those stories that are synonymous with yours. You might be Lori in her late 20s or her late teens, feeling stuck, feeling, trying to get rid of some of that pain and those emotions and feeling like she doesn't fit in. Whatever your pain you're going through, think about what Lori went through and say, Lori did it. Lori put a lot of work, conscious thought, vibrations, energy into her growth and personal development, and now she is where she is today. That level of success, that level of growth is not just for people like Lori. It's for you in the Bamboo Pack. And even if you're not really going through a deep pain right now and you want to get to that next level of life, it's there. So we're going to continue with her story and wisdom, but I wanted you to grab some of that and just think about, she went through a lot at a fairly young age. As most of us are, we're all trying to find our place in the circle, but to have to deal with other things, other dysfunctional stimuli during that process is an extra burden to carry. So she did it. You can too. Okay. So Lori, growing up then, or during that process, was there a person or a book or anything that really inspired you most, or a group of people?
Well, in my early 20s, I remember throughout my teenage years, it started, and then I was just always like, why are we here? What is the purpose of this life? Like, is this can't just be it, because this is not very fun. I used to think, right? Like, there has to be more to this, because this is stupid. Like, why are we here? So, yeah, early 20s, I literally remember going on my computer and Googling, like, what is the purpose of life? And what came out was Kabbalah. So I found Kabbalah, which is kind of like Jewish mysticism, which I'm not sure if you know anything about Kabbalah or not. At the time, it was quite popular with a lot of celebrities, actually, and like Madonna was into it, and it was like there was different kind of things out there on it. Like a lot of people were calling it like a cult and stuff like that, which it wasn't. But there was like actually Kabbalah. I don't know if they call them churches or what they call them. Anyways, centers that you could gather at. Not where I lived, but. Anyways, I really got into Kabbalah and would read books on it, and that really opened my mind to a different reality, a reality beyond basically what we can see, and really just kind of coming to the understanding that we all emit a frequency in life. And through that frequency, it's basically like an antenna coming out of us. We attract things based on where that antenna or that radio station is, right? So you change the radio station, you change the station, you attract something different comes through. So same thing with your vibration, and that's kind of how I remember it being explained. So that's really kind of where it all began, I would say. Also someone who I really was, I would say, kind of inspired by growing up too at that time was Madonna. So not Madonna, sorry, Oprah.
Okay.
Madonna on my mind. So again, Oprah was, I saw her, she would have, all these inspirational guests on her shows, and she was, kind of in that personal development realm. Mm-hmm. And so when I was, in my 20s, early 20s, she ended up coming to the city I live in, and my mom and I went to go see her, actually. And so that again was one of the, I think, transitions, something that helped me kind of develop. And then, just reading some of her books and kind of just taking different insights and nuggets away from that. And again, at that time, there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't social media, so there wasn't the kind of personal development that there is now that's kind of plastered all over, Instagram and Facebook and online programs. And there's a lot more of that now, whereas back then there really was just kind of TV, right?
Right.
So one of the things she spoke about is really having a sense of gratitude for everything, that you do have in life, and the importance of really just tapping into that gratitude daily. And that's kind of what she thought to be one of the key things of, fulfillment and happiness. And of course, she's not the first person to ever say that or say that since. That's kind of I think, long teaching in a lot of maybe cultures and religions. But one of her things was keeping a gratitude journal. So writing like 5 things down every day that you were grateful for. So I started doing that, actually. And every day I would write down 5 things I was grateful for and just feeling into that. And so I've kind of done that ever since. And I don't always write it down every day, but some days I do. But just it's become more of a practice and just shifting your mindset into having a more grateful mindset and living in a energy of gratitude. So now it's more of a natural thing that comes to me, and just, things that throughout my day, I'll just, really take notice of and feel like, oh, I'm really grateful for this. I'm really grateful for, my friends or the sun that's out today, just small things. And I think that's one of the things that really helped to, again, kind of shift my energy into just being a lot more, I think, connected and happy with where I am, because of course we're always on the journey to somewhere else. But if on the journey we're not happy, then, once we get to where we want to go, we're still not going to be happy, right? So it's just really enjoying the journey of getting to where we want to go, because once we get there, there's going to be, again, somewhere else that we want to be instead. So not trying to rush through life.
I can't support or validate what you said enough, because as I read, whether it's personal development, psychology, or, as you know, I'm reading the book The Secret right now for the first time after 18 years or 17 years it's been on the market, or books on even neuroscience, behavioral science.
Yeah.
Every one of those books talks about gratitude. It talks about the importance of gratitude, of having a gratitude journal, just as you said. And I started one about a year ago. I called it my G3, and I would write down 3 things a day. And you just validated something another guest said 2 or 3 months ago when she said she writes down 5 things. So I went up to 5 things. I call it my G5 now, for gratitude 5. And I do it 6 times a day. And I have noticed over the last 4 months, especially, just a great deal more inner peace. Because something I read, I don't know, Lori, what book it was in. It might have been a book I just finished that one of the Bamboo Pack recommended to me called The Untethered Soul. I just finished that last week.
Oh, yeah, I have that one.
That book was revolutionary for me. I really dug into it, read it very, very slowly. I bought the workbook, and I haven't started the journal workbook yet with it. But I believe it was in that book they said God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, is not going to provide you with what you want as easily if you don't recognize that you have gratitude for what you already have. So whatever you believe in, and there's a lot of truth to that. When you look at children that you raise or you love, or anyone, friends, family, if you give them a gift and they don't say thank you and they don't appreciate it, they waste it, they don't ever acknowledge the beauty of the gift, and they don't use it, you're probably going to not give them as many gifts. You're probably going to kind of downplay or kind of, forget about them on their birthdays or special occasions after a while. And I don't know why the universe or God or whoever we want to describe it would be any different. If we can't show gratitude for what we have, how are we going to get what we want? So I love that so much.
Absolutely.
I think that's so powerful. And every one of you Bamboo Pack, it's a matter of buying a journal or picking up a piece of paper, and a few times a week, sit down. I do mine in the mornings. Some people do it at nights. I do mine in the mornings. And write down anything. I'm happy for this cup of coffee that's warm in my hand. I'm happy that my dog is laying next to me with her head on my lap. I'm grateful for the hike I took yesterday. I'm grateful for connecting with my sister every day. These are things that have been on mine over the past few weeks. Sometimes they're big things. Sometimes they're just small, mundane things. So I didn't mean to stop you. I have a question for you though, Lori. It seems like you travel a lot, or your pictures are always in some unique place, and I guess the best question to ask you, and I don't know really a time frame, but maybe in the last 2 or 3 years. So, because I know you're a person who's constantly evolving, constantly growing, getting stronger internally, externally. What would you say in the past couple of years, anyway, has been your greatest learning?
Yeah, I do travel a lot, and I've always traveled. I've always had a passion for travel at a very young age, and it's one of the things I believe, especially with personal development and growth, that is shifting your environment can really shift who you are becoming, and putting yourself in environments that are expansive. And I've gone on, a few retreats, or a couple of retreats, I guess, this year. And so, I find just being around like-minded people and in those expansive environments is really what has really contributed to who I have become and who I am becoming, especially over the past couple of years. And I think one of the things that has really also shifted my understanding of myself, and just really coming to know myself on a deeper level, would be something I kind of came into knowing about maybe 2.5 years ago, and that's called human design. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but
not until I read your bio.
Basically, human design is something that a man kind of channeled through. Now, this is probably the 80s, I want to say. I can't remember now. And it's a system. So it's like astrology, Kabbalah, and the Chinese I Ching kind of all together into one system. And basically what it is a system that gives you basically a blueprint for your soul, and helps you understand who you are, why you're here, and just why you are the way you are. And after really understanding and seeing my human design blueprint, it was such a just confirmation of who I am and just an accepting of who I am, because up until then I really felt very still alone and like different from everyone. And one of the things I learned about my energy type is that I'm something called a manifester, which isn't about manifesting. It's just there's 5 different energy types, but my energy type is one. There's only 9% of us in the world, and it's an energy type that doesn't have sustainable energy. So we go through a lot of ups and downs in our energy. So we can have a huge burst of energy and be able to get like so much done in a really short amount of time. But then we also go through a lot of rest phases. And so we have a lot of time we need to rest, and we're not adapt to really work full-time hours, like in a normal job, like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Like we really get drained and exhausted from jobs like that. And so, living in a society of, another energy type is called generators. So the generators are 80% of the energy of the people in the world have this energy type. And this energy has a sustainable energy. They can work, a lot longer hours, the Monday to Friday, they can go. And so we're born into this world of that's kind of the norm, and we're meant to fit into this world. And for us people that don't have this type of energy, it's really hard for us to maintain. And so that, along with a few other things I've learned in my human design, really just help me to accept myself and really start to work within my energy and to learn how to do things that work for me and that are going to work for, what my energy is and I guess where I want to go. So I'd say that is kind of the biggest
those are some
learning, I guess.
I mean, those are some pretty big learnings. Because I have a question for you. This energy style, really, or energy type, that fascinates me. Is there? I know you probably obviously went through a much more in-depth study on yours to determine yours as being a manifester. Is there a source that? Sorry, somebody just beeped in my phone. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, but all of my children and my mother can still break through. And so when they text me, they all have their own unique. So I know exactly which one of my bonus sons that was. But my son, Lori, I've shared this on the podcast a few times. He's 20 years old. He goes to college now, and he was the last one. I had to bless the blessing of being able to raise him on my own. In fact, he did a podcast with me as a guest 4 or 5 weeks ago. But he's funny because I text him and say, "Son, I'm shooting a podcast today from 1:30 to 3." He doesn't look at his text. He's in classes or at lacrosse practice, and he'll call me. He called me probably 4 or 5 podcasts in a row, right in the middle of the podcast.
Oh gosh!
And I always tell everybody, "There, ladies and gentlemen, there's Dawson Bosley calling in." But is there a source or a location the Bamboo Pack could go to get at least a quick is there an exam, a test they can take, or something that they could go to say, "Okay, I would like to learn my energy type." Is there a source they can go to?
Yeah, there's one. All you have to do is input your birth date, location you were born, and then your time of birth. So similar to astrology. And there's a website called myhumandesign.com. And so you can input it in there. It'll tell you, what you are. It's fairly difficult to understand on your own, but I mean, you can always do your own research and kind of Google what different things mean. It's not going to explain everything to you, though, and it's quite an in-depth kind of system. But yeah, that would be the basic. You can definitely find out there.
Now, is that something you would work with a person on as well? Do you help people?
Yeah, so I mean, I've done a lot of my own self-study over the last 2.5 years, and I want to get certified to do, more readings and such like that. But I definitely use human design in coaching and helping the women, I usually coach women. So they, helping them understand and work with their human design system and their energy type. I don't dive into like all the depths of the layers, but just kind of the general, because it really does make a difference when you understanding yourself on like the depth of, what you're really made out of is quite fascinating. So it can really shift how you're living your life and different ways that maybe you shouldn't be pushing yourself, but maybe you are.
Well, I'm going to share.
So yeah, it's definitely.
I know you focus primarily on coaching and working with women. So our podcast demographics are roughly 50-50. I mean, they're 41, 59 at any given time. They vacillate back and forth. So we clearly have a lot of subscribers and listeners who are women. So I want to share with any of you out there, we're going to have Lori's website link at the bottom of the text of this podcast, as long as we'll also include myhumandesign.com on there. So you can click on that. I would recommend, if you feel that you're really liking, I'm really sure a lot of you are, I can just tell already by the material she shared, that you're really going to dig into this stuff. So I'd like you to think about reaching out to Lori. She may not have the capacity to work with you, and she may, but I think maybe striking a conversation with her and looking into her coaching, because the stuff she specializes in is really powerful stuff. The human design aspect, I knew nothing about until literally with all of you just now. And that's fascinating to me. 10 years ago, I would have said, Lori, you're full of crap. This is all mumble, bumble, bull crap. I'm a different man in the past 10 years. I've learned a lot. I learned how ignorant I was back in the day and how much probably of my energy and talent was wasted because of my stubbornness. And I realized this kind of law of attraction, or knowing your energy type and understanding that, is all incredibly powerful. And really, quite frankly, if I can say so, it's necessary to reach that true peak identity, that true peak level that you are always destined to live out there, folks. So I'm a firm believer in all of this, and I've seen it in action. I've seen it work with myself in the last couple of years, more so in the last 4 or 5 months. And now I'm really looking at, wow, this human design stuff really sounds really fascinating to me. So please click on the links below when you're through with this podcast. Lori, I've got a question that I ask every guest, and I always give the statement that you don't have to answer it. So if you want to pass, that's fine. But if you'd like to answer this question, it is, what is the most difficult thing you've ever gone through in your life? And then how did you scale that wall and overcome it?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I wouldn't say I have one specific, thing that was really traumatic or one event that was really difficult, but I honestly just feel like it was more like a period of time. And that was kind of from, my probably 15 years old, 14, 15 to close to 30. So I would say a span of 15-ish years. And just really trying to figure out my way and trying to figure out, like I kind of spoke about before, who I was. And yeah, I would say that was kind of just that period of time in general was kind of the most difficult. Just a lot of that feeling of, feeling lost for so many years and feeling alone and feeling really isolated and like no one really understood me. And so that is also one of the things that I really want is, for other people to feel like they can connect with someone and to have someone that does understand them. And I think that's why I'm really passionate about coaching as well, is that it's something that you can really make a change in someone's life. And it wasn't until I kind of experienced it firsthand and had my own first coach, and just having someone that is kind of just there with you along the way, living life with you and really understanding and supporting you on your, desires and mission, and supporting you helping you get to where you want to go. So I think that's kind of where and why I ended up to be where I am now and doing what I'm doing. And coming into the coaching world, I'd say about 2.5 years ago, is really where I felt very connected with women. and very seen by others. And I had never experienced that in my life before. So it's really kind of been a major blessing in that way, and has really helped evolve me to where I am now and who I've become and kind of where I'm going.
Well, that's my next question is, what's next for you?
So yeah, I think just like I said, getting certified and doing, more of the human design readings. And one of the things I'm actually getting into now is something also called Healy, which is I've kind of just entered into this the last couple months. And so Healy is a microcurrent frequency device.
How do you spell that, Lori?
It just kind of sits. Healy?
Yeah.
Healy.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So what is it again?
So it's a microcurrent frequency device. So, I mean, as we know, we're all frequency. We all give off a certain vibration. And so Healy was developed in Germany about, I think, 4 years ago. It's just come to Canada within, I think, September it was. And so it's quite a new device. And so there's a lot of different programs and frequencies on this device. And you can actually scan your body and it will tell you what frequencies that you should run in your body. So it can do a lot of different, it can help you assist, in kind of biohacking your body and healing and picking up on subconscious thought patterns. It can pick up on subconscious frequencies that need to be kind of healed within yourself. And then you can go in and run the different frequencies and programs. And so it's quite fascinating. And there's been there is other devices, big devices out there, that people are using in different therapies and that. So this is a device that's been created as a mini version for people anywhere to be able to use and as a portable device. So there's a lot of, tons of testimonials out there now with people kind of, I wouldn't say maybe necessarily healing, but in some ways kind of helping assist them healing with different things that have been going on within their bodies. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm going next. And I think that's been going to be really exciting to share more and to become more of a part of. And there's a huge, beautiful, expansive community within Healy. And it just really resonated with who I am and what I have always been into. And, it's kind of based around the quantum physics and the quantum field. So, which is also something I've always been very deeply into at a young age. I've always read books from quantum physicists and just anything to do with quantum energy I've been very attracted to. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm heading next. And of course, probably some more travel here in the next few months.
Well, make sure you keep posting pictures on Instagram, because it's when it's cold. Well, you're where you are, obviously in Saskatchewan, it's cold as well. But when it's cold in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the mid-January, late January, like today, I'm already thinking I've got 2 trips planned this year. And sometimes I live vicariously through other people who show me other parts of the world too. So I want to go back though, because I think as we talk about things like Healy or human design, I know some of you Bamboo Pack members are a little skeptical. It's beyond your paradigm. It's a little bit out of your comfort zone. I want you to think about this, because I was you 10 years ago. I was you Bamboo Pack cynical, skeptical person. But when you really think about it, we are nothing but energy. We are energy. That's all we are. Every thought, the feelings we have, our interaction between two individuals are always energy. It's an exchange of energy. It's positive or negative. It's really never neutral. And everything that comes out of us and from us is energy. Everything that is within us is energy. So an energy sends off frequencies, and energy frequencies tend to attract other frequencies like that. So when we send off negative energies, we hold negative energies in our body, in our soul, in our mind, in our heart. We're going to transmit those frequencies of negativity. So when it goes out there in the universe, so to speak, it's going to attract other negative energies back to us. So this is not and I repeat, this is not any psychobabble bullcrap. This is science. And I read a lot of books on neuroscience, and I read a lot of books on behavioral science, and they're all substantiating what Lori is saying today. This is not just, some of this stuff is very new and, and revolutionary, but science backs most of this up, if not all of it up. So I want you to really dig into this. This is game-changing, potentially life-changing wisdom that she's telling us today and sharing with us. So please get out there. So Lori, as you now are getting in the last 2.5 years of more coaching and you've really come to a point in life where you said you learned in the last couple of years to accept yourself, accept your energy type and what that brings to the world and what you need from yourself to make sure that your energy doesn't drain. What do you consider to be a win or a victory in your life now?
I think just, the biggest win for me, I think, is, gaining deeper wisdom, I think, and just through experiences and embodiments. And unfortunately, a lot of wisdom comes from obviously painful experiences. So I've definitely had a lot of, lows as well. But I think just learning and putting myself putting the situation in a different perspective and just really taking the learning and teachings and wisdom from that and being able to really embody that on a deeper level and having that wisdom become a part of you, I think is really the biggest win in any circumstance for me. I think it's inevitable that we're all going to go through bad times and situations and events that happen. And it's really how we choose to bring ourselves through that and how we choose to evolve as a result of that. There's always a decision in life when we get to choose if we want to grow and become better or if we want to stay the same or allow those situations to control us. And I think it's just always trying to see the positive and the good in situations and experiences, and always knowing that even when things look like they're not working out, they are working out. And we don't understand life moving through it forward. We only understand life looking back at it in hindsight. So, I think just gaining wisdom is really important.
I love what you just said. We have the choice to grow and become better or stay where we are and let it control us. I want the Bamboo Pack to hear that. Every moment, whatever you're going through, we have the opportunity, we have the choice. We have the choice. It's in our control to grow and become better or stay and let the event or the situation control us. Lori, have you ever read anything by Ryan Holiday, the Daily Stoic, or The Obstacle is the Way?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I'm going to send you a copy of one of those books because what you said is Stoicism is the ancient philosophy. It was Marcus Aurelius in his book Meditations it's one of the primal books, Epictetus. A lot of the ancient philosophers were Stoics, which was all about, not Stoic meaning you always become stoic and, never show emotion. It's more, Stoicism reflects around the idea of no matter what the event is that's happening around you, you remain true. There's always something good in every event. I'm going to say, because both of those books, one, the Obstacle is the Way is a book, and then the Daily Stoic is a daily affirmation book. And I think I'm on my 7th year of reading that one. I've just read it over and over. I just keep, every day I read one of the passages.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to send you one of those books as a gift for being such a great guest today. So I think
amazing.
You will love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I've got 2 more questions for you. And this question here is probably my favorite one. And right now we're going to jump, we're going to jump in a time machine. You and I are, Lori. We're going to go back to you. You're going to be in your late 20s. You're married. You're kind of feeling stuck. You're going to go back to that woman, that younger version of yourself, that less experienced, that more scared version of yourself. And you're going to sit down and you're going to talk to her. And I'm just going to sit back and observe. What would you say to yourself at that point in life? What advice or words of wisdom would you give her?
I think that just telling her that she really isn't alone, and that, other people are going through the same things. And I wish I knew sooner that, how to find the people that I really connect with, because I think that has a huge impact on your ability to, grow and become part of a like-minded community. And I would just tell her to, keep going and really think about what the decisions you're making now, how they're going to impact, your future. And I think for me, I didn't really think things through all the time. And, I would make decisions a lot more consciously. And not that I regret anything, but obviously everything I've gone through got me to where I am now. But I think if you can lead your life with a lot more awareness and, consciously making decisions that aren't just good for you now, but also are good for you in the future.
Okay. I'm just going to stop. That was amazing right there. So I want to stop and now share. I want to speak to the Bamboo Pack out there for you who need this right now. And I don't know who you are, but I want to tell you, if you're feeling a little lost in the shuffle, you're trying to find your place in a circle. Maybe you find yourself stuck on that hamster wheel of life and you're spinning around. I'm going to share what Lori just would share to her former self. You're not alone. There are other people who are going the same things or things very similar. Try to make those connections with others. Keep going. Learn to live, or think about the decisions you're currently making and how they're going to affect your future. Because everything you have right now and every place you are is a product of a decision you made in the past. I added that part to it. And lead your life with more awareness. Those simple 4 or 5 things that Lori shared can revolutionize your life. So incorporate those and take those and internalize those and start practicing those. That's really good stuff, Lori. I'm fascinated by this frequency and this energy thing. And I really am, man. I really am. Okay. My final question to you, Lori, as we begin to wrap this amazing episode up is there any question that I asked or that I didn't ask that you wish I would have? Or is there any final message you'd like to leave with the Bamboo Pack audience?
I think the most important message would just be to really, dig in and find your own alignment with yourself and balance in life. And I use a lot of different, what we call it, I guess today would be biohacking, finding out what works for your body and mind and finding out what works for you to get into the optimal energetic alignment with, the desires you have in life. And it is all about your frequency. And the more you can raise your frequency through inner alignment, the more you're going to be an energetic match to the things you desire, which of course, those things are always going to be on a higher frequency. So that's why I really believe that truly finding, that balance within yourself and reaching out for help if you need it or when you need it, and having someone to really support you along the way is going to make a huge difference. And I think, just a lot of who we are today is a product of, our past upbringing as a child, our deeper mindset, belief systems. We have a lot of blocks and a lot of programs that are running within us that aren't necessarily ours. So becoming consciously aware of the thoughts we are thinking and reprogramming our minds are really going to make the biggest difference in our lives and the outcome of our life and our ability to get to where we want to go.
Okay, I'm trying to write this down, so bear with me for a moment of silence here. To me, this is amazing stuff, and I just know we're going to get a lot of heart letters sent in on this one. Now, Lori, are you okay with me sharing the link to your website on the text of this podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
people can contact me there if they want any more information about anything. Absolutely.
Well, I think what she just said, everyone, is said reach out if you need help. I mean, and then she said, when you need help. We're all need help. And I really love what you said a lot, Lori. Throughout the entire podcast, you talked a lot about connections. You talked about, even in your bio, when I was able to share it, you talked about the coaches that you had, how they impacted you. You talked about, giving your younger version of yourself that you're not alone. There are other people going through this. Connect with them. And I think we all need that. We all need a connection, whether it be a friend, a mentor, a coach, someone who understands, doesn't judge, and can walk alongside of us in this journey. And especially if it's somebody who is a little ahead of you, who knows a little, can guide you and lead you on your path, not theirs, on your own path, but can say, okay, I can see a little further along than you because I've been there. So, walk with me. Let me walk with you. Let me support you, and challenge a little bit to make that person that better version, to find that true frequency inside, and raise their energy to align with their, or raise their frequency to align with with their alignment, I guess. So this is great stuff, man. You got me more intrigued with the human design thing and Healy and Kabbalah. I Googled Kabbalah as we were talking, and I saw what it was, and I thought, okay, I'm going to keep this page stored on my computer so I can go back to it a little bit. But I really can't thank you enough, Lori. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your travels and all the work you're doing with yourself and also with your clients. And thank you for so much, because I think it's not just for being a guest on this podcast, but thank you for the work you do. And that's why I like to promote people like you and promote what you offer the world, the energy you put out there, because this is the kind of stuff that can not only change individual lives, but has the ultimate power to change the entire world. And I fully believe in that. So I can't thank you enough, Lori Archer, for being such an amazing guest on the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. It's been wonderful talking to you and sharing a little bit more about me. And yeah, I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and it's been really great talking to you.
The pleasure was all mine. So everybody in the Bamboo Pack, and Lori, if you can stay on for just a moment after we're done so I can have just a minute of your time. Bamboo Pack, please click on the link below. I'm going to have two links. I'm going to Lori's website. I'm going to have thehumandesign.com, myhumandesign.com. Click on those. Do some exploration. Dig into this stuff. I mean, that's a powerful thing. Dig into this material, this idea. Contact Lori. I mean, this is life-changing. It really is. I wouldn't have a guest on here. We did a pre-interview. I wouldn't have had her on here if I didn't think this was life-changing. And it was even more powerful than I thought it was going to be. So please reach out. Again, I want to say one last thing. This episode and all of the time we spent together is completely dedicated to the Weaver family in Escanaba, Michigan, and to the entire community. I watched all of you step up. I watched the community rise up to support these amazing children. And I just want them to know, if they ever listen to this podcast, that you are loved by a lot of people. And your family may have seemed to have shrunk in the last few days, but really, in a lot of ways, it's also grown. We love you. We're supporting you. And just know that we're all here for you. All right, Bamboo Pack. Until next time in a few days, please get out there and sculpt your life. Please get out there and strive to be your best. Show love and respect to others and to yourself. And by all means, live intentionally. Until next time, I appreciate each and every single one of you.